Now, there's several surprising things about this text. One of them is, if you didn't catch it, the reaction of the disciples to Jesus chasing this guy off. They're pretty freaked out. Now, put yourself in their shoes. Right? Jesus has picked them. He's appointed them. We learn in Mark chapter 3, he has said, you are going to go and you are going to do kingdom work on my behalf. I'm going to train you, but the work of ministry is in your hands. Go. And so they go. And the problem is, they're a mess. Which, if you are discouraged about your own life, about your own progress in the Christian faith, read about the disciples. You will be encouraged. They are a disaster, and they are leaderless. And so I'm sure as Jesus is talking to this rich young man, they're thinking, aha, a leader. We need one of those. Peter is kind of a self-appointed leader, but he's always got both feet firmly planted in his mouth. James and John are calling fire down from heaven on anybody that disagrees with us. Judas, something's wrong with Judas. We're not sure, but that guy's jacked up. He's just saying, we got a leader, Jesus, and you're chasing him off. Are you serious? Or maybe they thought, oh, it's not just a leader. He's loaded. He's got money. No more stealing little boys' lunches and feeding the crowds. No more sleeping at other people's houses. Like, we can actually, maybe they thought that, okay? But here's what I think they did, as well as thinking that. I think they put themselves in this story. I think, and by the way, this is a great way to read the Bible, when you're seeing Jesus interact with someone, become that person. Enter the narrative. And I think they did that. And I think that is why this kind of exasperated question came out in our text. Well, then who can be saved? I mean, if this guy can't make the cut, who is going to make the cut? This is unbelievable, Jesus. And so they are basically putting themselves in the position of this rich young man, and that's exactly what I want you to do today. Pretend Jesus is talking to you. And you might object, well, I'm a female, or I'm older. Well, let's not worry about that. And some of you are like, well, I'm not rich. Well, allow me to retort. Statistically, 70% of the wealth of the world is in 5% of the population. If you are a professional, you're in the top 20% of that 5%. Okay? In fact, never in history had there been such wealthy people as us Americans. That's the truth. Check out the stats for yourself. So when we want to kind of push that off and say, I'm not wealthy, it's simply not true when you compare yourself with the rest of the world. Now, let me give some encouraging things that I think that Jesus is saying about this. Jesus isn't against wealth, but he demands generosity in the wealthy. What he said to this guy was, you need to go, you need to sell all that you have and give to the poor and follow me. What's interesting is Jesus never critiques this guy for being rich. He says, go and give to the poor and follow me. He doesn't say stop creating wealth. He says, give what you have to the poor. Now, in Scripture, what you see is God is not against wealth. God uses wealthy people like Abraham in the Old Testament, like Solomon, who was maybe the richest man who ever lived. Like Jesus' own ministry, by the way, was supported by two ladies who were wealthy, Joanna and Susanna, Luke chapter 8. The guy who carved the tomb of Jesus and had the land to buy it, a wealthy man, the text says. Joseph of Arimathea was used in Jesus' death and involved in his resurrection. So God is pro-wealth. Here's why. God is wealthy. In fact, he's the wealthiest of all beings. Now, because God is wealthy is not enough, though, for us to understand what is going on in the story. God is wealthy and God is generous. And he expects his people to be the same. We are wealthy. We've established that. He expects us to be generous. This is why he says, through the Apostle Paul, in 1 Timothy 6, 17 and 18, he says, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty. Don't be arrogant about your money, but you're to do good, you're to be rich in good works, you're to be generous and ready to share.